Yeah, man. Famous cartoonist Art Balthazar. As you see, Abraham Lincoln is with me, and we are watching, and you are watching. Famous cartoonists draw at night. They draw at night, by night. We're all here together, man. Buy their comics, buy my comics, shop.
Welcome to Cartoonist by Night. I am Anthony Laatsch. I am joined here by Troy Dongarra, D. Brad Gibson, and our very special guest, kids comic book creator Shane Campos. How's it going, Shane?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Happy to have you on. And when we reach out to our cartoonist guests, we ask them a very important question. Everybody already knows what it is because they clicked on the video. They've already subscribed to YouTube. But what is our topic of discussion and drawing tonight?
Well, Anthony, it's going to be Saturday morning cartoons.
There we go. I think that's a pretty exciting topic. I don't think there's any people grumbling at that one because that's a very wide palette and different generations of people growing up in Saturday morning cartoons. That should be a fun one. So what we're going to do here in this episode, we're going to draw and discuss Saturday morning cartoons. We're going to learn a lot about Shane and his art journey and talk about the projects that he's worked on and things that are coming out. And before we do any of that, we like to go around and kind of see what everybody's going to be working on. Now, I will warn anybody that this might be the first time that we are running a show without a Matt present, whether it's a Matt Fife, a Matt RODGERS, maybe a Matt Hansel coming in. We didn't throw out the Matt signal to try to get another Matt just in time, but I think we're going to do all right. So in order to figure that out, we're going to start with D. Brad. What are you going to be working on tonight?
Well, I'm going to draw from Saturday morning cartoons that mostly it's from the ABC network where they had public service announcements in between cartoons. So one's going to be a character from Schoolhouse Rock, Verb, What's Happening, the superhero. And then the other one is that, I don't know if you know Time for Timer, but he was all about healthy snacks and he had a hankering for a hunk of cheese, or he taught us how to make snacks when we got home to make our own healthy snack. And another one is also another PSA. They had another series called The Bod Squad. And that was in the 70s and 80s. And the one I remember most was about this guy who was kind of like Fonzie from Happy Days. He's like this 50s guy, and he's all about exercising your teeth. He had a big smile. His name was Chopper. So I got a picture. I'm going to draw Chopper eating celery.
Cool.
Yeah. Sounds like some good deep cuts there. Jump over to Shane. Any idea what you're going to be working on tonight?
Mine is not so much of geek up. It is the Space Ghost. You know, one of my favorites is like from Saturday morning. I mean, it is hard to choose because there's so many good ones out there, and so many I grew up influenced with. But I think Space Ghost is probably the safest bet, and I've got that going on today.
Excellent choice. I'm going to jump over to my camera because I know Troy is going to muster up an answer soon, but I will jump over to me now. Coincidentally, I've been drawing some Looney Tunes over the course of the last week after seeing the awesome new movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, the Looney Tunes movie with Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. Highly suggest people go out and check that out. It is awesome. So I was in a Looney Tunes mood way before even finding out our topic for this evening. So I had a couple of these sketch cards that I had done, which I think was just unplanned practice for this evening. But the ones that I wanted to work on, Scooby-Doo. So I got a little ahead of myself by drawing several cards of the characters. Maybe I'll get to 2 or 3 of them here tonight. We'll see. But I have a Daphne sketch down. I've got Velma, and I am exaggerating the turtleneck there. So I'm trying to find some fun cartoony angles on these characters. Then I've got my Fred, and I've got his tie there and his ascot and everything. So I gave him a big old tie to take up half the card.
You said ascot.
That I did. Then, of course, I've got a Shaggy and, of course, Scooby-Doo. So I've got 5 different cards here. I'll get to a couple of them, but I'll finish them all for at least for the end credits. So jump over to Troy. Any idea what you're going to be working on for tonight?
Yep, I am going to draw He-Man. I'm not going to draw this newer version of He-Man. That's just the only toy I have. I'm going to try to do the old-fashioned fur breeches He-Man.
Awesome.
Excellent.
I think that's the first cartoon that that I can remember like being big into. So that was
wow.
Wow.
I love the Filmation ones. The Filmation Masters of the Universe. That stuff I grew up on it too. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Now that we know what we're all going to be working on, feel free to dive into your drawings, and then we'll be talking Saturday morning cartoons. We'll be learning about Shane and his work, and starting with our topic. Shane, was it difficult to come up with this idea? Was this at the top of your brain when asked, when you could talk about anything that you were passionate about? Give us a little background on why you chose tonight's topic.
I think I chose tonight's topic because I really do love Saturday morning cartoons, and they influence me a lot. So I think it's mainly just an influence thing. I mean, I can watch them now, and sometimes they hold up, sometimes they don't, but it doesn't really matter because they've already been ingrained into my head and into my art style in some weird way. It's like I don't know. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I know Deep Bread often mentions about how he still watches cartoons on Saturday morning. That's true, Deep Bread, right?
I watch cartoons every day.
Yeah, he's keeping the tradition alive.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah, I watched at least 2 cartoons today. I watched
Which two?
I watched season 3, episode 1 of X-Men, the 90s one, the original 90s one.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize that one character was also known as another character, so that came as a surprise to me.
Ooh, spoilers.
Lady Deathstrike, I found out who she actually is. So I go, I didn't know that. And DuckTales was the other one.
Oh, yes.
DuckTales.
Yeah.
That's my wife's ringtone on her phone.
Oh yeah,
Loves DuckTales. Mm-hmm.
Great choice. Shane, so we already, you talked about Space Ghost. I kind of want to dive into what attracts you to Space Ghost and why you're at least choosing that for tonight's drawing.
Space Ghost just has all the cool stuff, man. He had a great, it's a great name and idea. Great vehicle. He has a great he has a little monkey sidekick. I mean, that's always cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat Space Ghost for me whenever it comes to like just the cool factor, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Anything else that you, what other cartoons, if you want to start rattling them off, other things that were in your lineup? Do you have sort of a routine and tradition from your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, it goes through several different time periods, but Herculoids were always cool. Battle of the Planets, Looney Tunes, of course, all their stuff was just the most hilarious stuff I had ever seen. Did I say Herculoids?
Yep.
Yeah, Hercules, yeah.
Herculoids, yeah. Smurfs. The Smurfs were great too. I religiously watched the Smurfs whenever they came on.
Yeah.
Yeah, when going through the doing some research for this episode, I was Googling like, all right, what actually aired on Saturday morning, or maybe things that were adopted into Saturday morning with reruns, and basically just looking up whatever Google told me that fit under the topic. I'm like, oh yeah, watch that. Oh yeah, watch that. Yeah, watch that. Watch that. Yeah, yep, watch that. And it's one of
Yeah.
those kind of genres and things where it's just like there's so many television shows and series today with all the streamers and all that kind of stuff that there's no possible way that you could watch everything. But it seems like with cartoons that it was very easy to be like, oh yeah, I watched every single cartoon that, if they put it out, we watched it. So
Yeah. And what was cool about it, at least in the 70s and 80s, is that they only made, for most of the shows, they only made 13 episodes a year.
mm,
And so when they started going into reruns for them, then I would watch the other shows. So I would rotate, or oh, it's a rerun this week, so then I could watch the other network,
there you go.
whatever was on there.
That's a good plan there.
Yeah.
Steve Red, you usually take a nice little history lesson when we learn about things that you watched as a kid. So you want to let us know what your Saturday morning cartoon go-to favorites are?
Um, Lighting here today. Okay. But yeah, probably the best ever is it was the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show. And
Yeah.
it became, I guess they called Bugs Bunny Tweety too in later years. But yeah, I love that show. And you could watch them over and over and over again, even when they showed the same episodes. I liked the Flintstones. I know that was a prime time show, but when I saw it, it aired in Canada on one of our networks on Saturdays as well, Saturday mornings. But then I think maybe 1979 or something like that, or they brought the Flintstones back for an hour show,
Ooh,
the- called the Flintstone Comedy Hour.
Really?
Yeah,
all
and
new, all new stuff.
yeah, it was all new. Yeah. First it was the new Fred Barney show, and then they would like pair it up with like one half an hour would be a different character. So it'd be like a mystery show called The New Shmoo or The Thing. Thing's a teenager and he has powers. So they call it Fred Barney
He had
meet
the
the
ring, right? He
yeah,
had the thing ring.
yeah. Thing ring, do your thing. Yeah. And then they had next door neighbors that was a Frankenstone or kind of like the Munsters.
Hmm.
And Fred and Barney were police officers and they had this white creature, the Shmoo. And then Wilma and Betty were reporters and they worked with Captain Caveman.
Oh man,
And then Pebbles and Bam Bam were teenagers and with Scooby and they would solve mysteries like Scooby-Doo.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And then there was
Yeah.
another one with Dino, who it was like a Tom and Jerry one with Dino and Cave Mouse. So I really like that one. And I remember looking forward to Alvin and the Chipmunks too.
oh yeah.
But I think I just like the theme song. I don't know. That's how I would start my Saturday mornings with that theme song. Smurfs.
Yeah,
Pretty much every cartoon I enjoyed, but yeah, I look back and a lot of them don't hold up. But pretty much you've seen one episode and that's all you need to see for a lot of them, but they do give you good nostalgic memories. I
Definitely.
think I think the cartoons got a lot better in animation. They started getting better in the mid 80s. But in the 90s, I really liked the cartoons that came out then in the 90s, like a Batman and the Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain.
yeah,
The Warner Brothers got into it, and the Tick.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
Tick cartoon
yeah.
was amazing.
It's so good.
agreed. Uh,
I really like the old 60s stuff from the 60s is really good. When they had the old because they were more like theatrical shorts like the Looney Tunes with Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound and Quick Draw McGraw.
yeah, I always enjoy a nice, good title card sequence, like leading into a
Yeah.
cartoon short stuff and getting a little music intro and everything. It just kind of really set for a cool mood. So
Yeah. I like cartoons being short, so I'm enjoying I like it when they're like 11 minutes long. You get two stories in one episode. The one watching now is Adventure Time. That's 11 minutes long, and Steven Universe. Those are pretty pretty goofy. They're fun.
Well, that is a perfect segue to say that I think we've reached our limit on a short episode of Cartoonist by Night. So thank you, everybody. That was a great show. We'll catch you next time. We'll break this episode. We'll come back with another one shortly. No, excellent. Jump over to Troy. What's your connection with some Saturday morning cartoons?
I'm just like every other kid, before Nickelodeon sort of took over and started doing cartoons all the time. That was the time when you could just the TV was the kids. You weren't really fighting with an adult to have the remote control or anything. I remember He-Man, and my mom tells stories of me as a really little kid with a stick running around, holding it up in the air and screaming, "I'm He-Man! I have the power!" Then getting in trouble for hitting my brother with it and things like that. So I was not the hero. Apparently, I was more of a Skeletor type. But I do have fond memories, much like D. Brad, of the Warner Brothers stuff when um, Batman the Animated Series came on. That was like the best thing that had ever happened.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
game changer.
Yeah, game changer for sure. Um, but I liked most of them. I liked there was a Conan cartoon that was on,
Yeah.
and it was Conan, and I think he had like two other adventurers that hung out with him.
Yeah.
I wish I had looked it up beforehand. It may not be two. I am prone to have like misremembering things, but um, let's see. I remember a lot of the Disney stuff. I don't know if those were Saturday morning cartoons or after school cartoons,
Like a
but
both. They're both, yeah.
both. Like DuckTales. One
Yeah.
of you guys had mentioned DuckTales and Rescue Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall Animaniacs. That's probably my all-time favorite cartoon from my childhood, but I think that was mostly after school, but I could be wrong on that too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of those kind of shows that probably started that way, but then they'd just be in rotation on the weekends depending on what's
Yeah.
going on. But yeah,
Right.
it all counts.
Yeah. Or they would air
Absolutely.
on Cartoon Network, and then they would air like Teen Titans would, and then but it would air on like either the Fox or the WB, one of those on Saturdays. So you'd often be able to find them in more than one place.
I think Teen Titans Go might be up there with my favorite cartoons now that you said Teen Titans.
Oh yeah.
Did you mean like the original or
Yeah,
the cartoonish?
the original I meant.
Okay. I never watched the original, but Teen Titans Go, I love that show. I
Yeah,
think it's hilarious.
pretty funny.
Did they have an old Teen Titans cartoon like before that? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same voice actors as Teen Titans Go, if memory serves me.
Oh, it had like an anime influence. Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah,
I
yeah.
do
It had
remember
like
that
a
one.
Japanese style Japanese
Yeah,
pop song. Yeah,
I remember that because I remember Robin had those really badass metal uh, boots that he would wear.
that's right. Yeah,
And he weighed like 85 pounds, but he's like taking on 300-pound guys. It was funny.
yeah,
Um, yeah, for me on Saturday morning cartoons, I love myself some Ninja Turtles. That was definitely a huge influence on me, and watching all that kind of stuff. But a lot of stuff that was mentioned here. When it comes to Looney Tunes, I'm a big Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner fan. I love me some Foghorn Leghorn. Those are always the ones I got the most excited for. D. Brad mentioned a lot of the shows in the 90s. So, like when Tiny Toon Adventures, that was huge for me, and especially with the Super Nintendo video games that paired up with those, and DuckTales, like any of those related video games and cartoons just went hand in hand with me. Fun little backstory on Rescue Rangers. Um, that was something that at a time when I think you had a couple of the figurines, whether they were Happy Meal toys or whatever, but I remember specifically making their vehicle, that like blimp ship that they fly around in. I'd make that out of Lego. So anytime I didn't have like vehicles for characters, I just made all my vehicles out of Lego and just kind of, that's how I would continue the adventures. If they didn't make it, then I had to make it myself with Lego. Um,
It's pretty cool.
Definitely love
Yeah.
me some Scooby-Doo and your Jetsons and your Flintstones. When going into tonight's topic and trying to think of like what I was going to draw, we've done Ninja Turtles episodes, and a couple of things that have popped up where I've done some different drawings, but I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good time to work on some Scooby-Doo stuff because it fits in there perfectly. And it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't think I ever had a memory of those cartoons feeling old while I was watching them in the 80s. I don't think I
Right.
ever was thinking that they were like these were from the 60s, especially with Flintstones and stuff. To me, they felt timeless, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no matter what decade they were in and rerun status and all that stuff, I found myself just being in the moment and loving them regardless. But yeah, talking about the whether the cartoons aired on a specific morning or afternoon, but like Troy said, with a lot of having memory of shows being after school, so I remember like getting home and getting excited for Batman, getting excited for Gargoyles. Those two I think were back to back. And then you'd
Yeah.
get things like Eek the Cat and Samurai
Yeah.
Pizza Cat. Like there's just everything that popped on, like Heathcliff, Garfield, like you name, like everything. I'm just like, yep, I'm watching this, I'm watching this, I'm watching that. So
How many of
I
you guys would draw while you're watching?
I
absolutely.
That's when I did most of my drawing when those were on. Yeah.
that that's a great question. I don't think I ever any of my drawing I did. I don't think ever coincided. It was probably me with my toys in front of the TV more than anything. But
Oh.
any other guys have memories of drawing while watching?
Definitely.
I don't. I never did. I don't know why I didn't, but I think I was usually had some cereal going on. It was early morning,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just kind of like I absorbed it, but I didn't really. I think I spit it out later, but I didn't draw right then.
I grew up without cable, and so a lot of the cartoons that I would see, I'm not sure that I would have watched if it was brand new to me. I may not have had a pencil in my hand for it, but if it was something I'd seen two or three times before, I would definitely still, watch it, but not actually be watching it, more like listening to it and doodling.
Yeah. Right.
That's a good point because I didn't have cable either, and we were, sometimes we would get this channel out of Dallas,
Hmm.
and it would come in really good, and those were really good days because they would show all these things that I had never seen, like Galaxy Rangers would be on or whatever, just stuff they didn't show on the channels, the three channels we had.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess that's probably another reason why I was more glued to the set than trying to draw it at the time.
Yeah, I thinking about that and talking about like the Legos and the action figures and stuff. I definitely 100% just sat there in front of the TV with the toys, and whether I'm acting it out alongside or getting inspiration for whatever adventures would continue off the screen. So.
Well, that's what they wanted you to do. That's especially in the 80s. when they're allowed to make be more commercialized, they're trying to sell
Yeah.
toys.
Anyway,
Yeah, so
why did you buy the toys? Yeah.
help to sell toys, and they come up with this great backstory and all that.
Yep.
Uh,
Sometimes it was pretty cheap. Like some of the Saturday morning stuff is like, I don't know. There were certain things that were just like, Laverne and Shirley, they throw a pig in there and then their army is like,
oh yeah.
yeah, I was like, I'm gonna watch it. It's cool, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what I would have particularly picked out whenever I was a kid.
Yeah. And Fonz and the
I don't.
Happy Gang, what they go.
Yes,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was big into Fonzie.
Me
I wanted to
too.
be Fonzie. That was like one of my things when I was a kid.
Same.
He
Yeah.
was so cool.
I love that. I go, even if it was animated and goofy, I still watched it if it was Happy Days.
Exactly. You weren't picky. You weren't picky.
No.
What's really weird, if you want to make a connection to Fonzie and Cartoonist by Night, there is a photo in existence of Fonzie next to somebody wearing a Cartoonist by Night shirt, and that would be me when I got to meet Henry Winkler maybe a year or two ago.
That's pretty cool.
I'm
Yeah.
normally this is the moment when future Anthony says, "Hey, let's ooh and ah over this photo," but just for the sake of it, I am queuing it up soon, so I am going to reach
All
into
right.
my archive and find that photo. I just found it, and then I can send it over to the desktop. So while I do that, we're going to take a quick look at everybody's drawings. This is where I got so far with Shaggy without going into any extra details, just kind of laid down some inks and some color, and kind of want to, every time I'm drawing, I'm trying to like find a way to kind of add my own little flair to it and caricature, kind of exaggerate some things. So while it still looks like Shaggy, I'm trying to find a different, giving him a different chin and whatever. But that's where I got with my Shaggy so far.
Nice. That looks.
I like it.
Jump over to Shane. We see a lot of progress with your Space Coast there. How you feeling there?
Well, I love that team. Was
Heck yeah. It looks great.
Thanks. He's ready for business or something. I don't know. He's I'm trying to draw the whole crew, so hopefully I'll get them all done by the end of the show.
What I like about those superhero shows from the 60s is when they would start to fly. Of course, they would reuse animation all the time, but when they'd start to fly, they would announce their name.
Mm.
He'd go, Space Ghost! And then Birdman would go, Birdman! It's just like just say your name as soon as you start flying. It's like kind of in
Going-
real life you wouldn't do that, but it's fun. It makes you laugh. But it wasn't supposed to make you laugh, I guess. But it's fun to watch them again now.
You guys don't do that in real life? I do that every time I walk into I walk into work. I'm like,
Troy Anthony! Going back, reference to our last episode, because Powdered Toast Man did that. Powdered Toast Man, and Captain Caveman shouting that and doing.
Right.
All right, I found the photo here, so I'm going to interrupt before we finish up on the drawings. Here is a photo of Henry Winkler next to a Cartoonist by Night logo.
Oh, I'm so
Nice.
jealous. Yeah. Did he ask you about Cartoons by Night?
He didn't, but those, when you do the photo op opportunities there, which is redundant because I said photo op and opportunity. But when you do those happen pretty quick. So it's just a literal quick, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was obviously the nicest person in the world and interacted with everybody. But yeah, there it is. So I had a reason to show it on this episode.
Nice.
cool.
I love that. Whatever jacket that he's wearing there is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's rocking
And
it.
it's not as cool as the leather one, but it's cool.
We're gonna check in with Troy. How's He-Man coming along there?
Really well. Hang on, let me grab something. I don't normally draw ahead of time, but I was uncomfortable with this because I started to draw kind of in I guess the way I normally draw, like with big heads and things like that. And I just destroyed this piece of paper,
Hmm.
just drawing over and redrawing and erasing and redrawing.
Right.
And so only reason I'm going fast right now is because I had pre-drawn the what do you call it, the pencil portion of it. But I'm pretty happy with it. He's
Yeah.
got the power. I can tell.
Looking
I
pretty
can
great.
tell too. That looks good.
Some great muscles on that guy there.
Yeah.
I used myself as the model.
I didn't want to call it out. I just didn't want to embarrass you, so I'm glad that you mentioned it. All right, D. Brad, how's your deep cut characters going over there? What are we working on?
Chopper right now. I got the pencils of the verb what's happening guy catching a kid. Oh, and then I got Timer with his little ice cube treat that made from juice. He called it sunshine on a stick. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with Time for Timer, it's on YouTube, and you might get great ideas for snacks throughout the day. So, highly recommend Timer. I don't know what he is. He looks like a potato to me. I don't know what he is.
That works.
Yeah.
All right. I just started Velma here, and I've been kind of going faster with some of my sketch cards recently, and trying to, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I don't know, but I just like some of the looser styles that I've been kind of working on, and so maybe I might get all these done tonight.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to shift gears a little bit. We'll get back to some Saturday morning cartoons, but we also want to learn about our guest, Shane. So, Shane, this is the part of the show that we are going to start talking about you, and I have many different things to jump into, and I am deciding to kick it off with your most recent work here. So, I'm going to bring up the a cover here for something that you very graciously gave us access to the PDF to check out. I read this last night, and I'm going to bring up the image in just 1 second because we are talking about Go Berserk. So, can you tell
Hey,
our audience what is the elevator pitch for Go Berserk?
Go Berserk is she's a young girl that lives in Ayo City, and she wants to be a superhero, but she doesn't have any superpowers. So she had to rely on her wit and to her her brain basically to get her out of stuff. But she's also there with her little brother is a little. She was raised by a robot. These two robots, and they had a little brother named a Medbot who also acts as her little brother, and they go on adventures together.
Yeah, and what we find out in the early story, obviously within the first couple pages, not talking about spoilers or anything like that, but yeah, this little girl who kind of dreams to, looking up to superheroes and, wanting to, be recognized as a sidekick and meeting some new neighbors that come into town that leads off to adventures as they show Tetra, one of the neighboring girl, kind of showing them around the city. And throughout the book, we meet a lot of fun characters, and there's a lot of great humor. I love the designs, the colors. It's just a super fun book from cover to cover. And what I really appreciated too, with this being like an all ages book, throughout the volume you have cutting to mazes and word searches and cool pinups, and it's just a really fun presentation. And I think it pops. It's such a nice flow to it, and it keeps the fun. It doesn't take it too seriously, but we do have some serious moments with some of the characters and their relationships and the friendships, and but it doesn't take long to kind of get back into the wackiness, and whether it's the villains being hilarious, and every time somebody new comes onto the screen, it's just such a fun, cool design. And we'll see some examples of your design work just with other characters and maybe other IP characters that you've have fan art for, but you have a very specific style, and it works 100%. And it's super cool to see anytime a new creature, a new robot, new alien pops up. It's just like, there's we live in a world where there's decades upon decades of creature designs, and yet you're finding a great way to find new designs and bringing them to life with your artwork. So there's some compliments you can do with them, what you please.
Well, I appreciate them. I really do. I really do like all the different little things we put in there, the new characters, and the world. I think is kind of has a lot more we can add to, because they're not just Tetra, but there's also there's a super powered polar bear called Bazal. He's like the top hero there in AO City.
Yeah.
And there's some bad guys that are going on, and yeah, I think it's a fun read. I think that not just adults. I mean, adults will definitely like it, and kids too. It's like kind of like both.
Yeah, it's definitely, when you say the term all ages and kids literature, kid lit, and all that kind of stuff, it's literally all ages can enjoy it. And I was sitting there as a man in his 40s and just having some good laughs, and there's some good work with the puns and everything. So you are a co-creator on this book. Can you kind of talk about how you got to work with the writer of this project, or how this became a real thing?
Yeah, I was actually getting it together to pitch to somebody. There was a forum online that I talked to some people that they do pitches usually every year. It used to be a pitch fest every year, and I had it kind of partway going, and Mike Federale had sent me a message because he saw some of the stuff I was doing on Facebook, and we just kind of like started to decide to collaborate on it, and yeah, that's kind of how that happened. Yeah.
Cool. And so I know there was a Kickstarter for this project. Can you kind of talk about, like, is this something that is waiting to be distributed to backers? Is there a way to, was it presented as a graphic novel opposed to single issues? Can you kind of talk about the distribution plans and how people can get a hold of this?
Originally we had thought we were going to do it in original in single issues, and then the publisher we had started with, something happened. I won't go into details, but it fell through, and we decided to shop it around, and so we landed on Rocket Ship Media Entertainment. I think it's Rocket Ship Entertainment. They were starting a new kids line called Bottle Rocket, and they decided to pick it up, and that's how we got with them. And they do their stuff. It's kind of strange because I have never done like web comics like that before. Usually what they do is they'll take a web comic and they'll take it and reformat it, and they'll sell it as do a Kickstarter on it and get it going that way. Anyway, we got that going, and it turned out to be, instead of individual issues, it was going to be a graphic novel. And it was cool because they also had access to getting into like Barnes and Nobles and the direct market like that, which is really what I wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has been out and it's been delivered to the backers. I'm not exactly sure when the rest of it will come out to, like, the comic shops.
Yeah.
And especially now that I know Diamond's having some weird issues going on now. So
yeah.
But I'm sure it will happen. but definitely the people that have backed it have gotten theirs already.
Very cool. Yeah, it was definitely a fun read. A lot of stuff that on my comic book club show that I do, we go through the previews catalog, and a lot of my purchasing since getting into the all ages comic game myself. Um, a lot of it has been looking at a lot of those kind of graphic novels for kid lit books, and I've just been kind of getting my hands and my eyes on everything and just really enjoying it, looking for inspiration and just kind of seeing what the field has to offer, and I just always have a fun with just seeing how much creativity comes from just doing all ages books and working with original quirky characters and just trying to bring smiles to kids of all ages. And yeah, this book definitely deserves a spot on that shelf as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad you think other kids will like it too, because I that's really what I'm going for. I think that before, when I was, younger, I wanted to do more like edgy adult comics or whatever, something that was gonna like.
Yeah.
But now that I've gotten older, I really just want something that my kids are gonna like and that I like also, and that other kids will look at, and maybe they'll want to make their own comics one day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple of my friends' kids, anytime I'm reading something, immediately I'm just like, all right, I got to buy an extra copy because this one's going to be gifted for the next birthday or Christmas or something. And I know that this book will definitely be going into their hands when the next round of gifts happen. So
That's good, because I think that's the best way to get new readers, is really introduce kids to stuff, is just give it to them.
and it's really too, like, if you look at something like Dog Man, something that I was aware of and just being like, all right, this is a very popular thing, but then when I see my friends' kids getting into Dog Man and me not knowing anything about it, and then just being like, all right, I'm gonna go read Dog Man now and see what's going on with this. And very recently, just read it for the first time, and I'm like, all right, this is a ton of fun. It just I love seeing that books like that exist, things that Art Baltazar is doing with Yogs and original content, graphic novel, kids books, and yeah, I just I there's so much out there, and I do want to read it all. Much like Saturday morning cartoons, where I want to watch them all. I feel the same now. I just gotten, I think it's out of reach at this point, but I think it's Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy or something. Uh,
Yeah.
I came across. Yeah, let me step off from my screen here a little bit. I didn't read it yet, but going through the Diamond previews, um, there was like a further volume that I never heard of this thing, and I'm like, I'm a sucker for a good title, and I heard of this one, and immediately I'm like, all right, how come I don't know anything about this? So then I went through and found the book. I'm going to, oh, I got it up on the camera here. So yeah, Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy.
Yeah.
It's things like that where I'm just like, all right, I'm already sold. It's hilarious just from the get go. So yeah,
Well, he's got some laser eyes going for sure, and that rabbit looks like the happiest rabbit I've seen in a while.
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Let me jump back into this here. But yeah, the your book that we're talking about here, Go Berserk. This ain't your first time working on comics, because I have some other things that I pulled from your website, and I'm curious to learn about some of these, if they were how they came to be. So I'm going to jump into my share screen for the next little batch here. This one here, we have Super Duper Shark. Um, so this, you have a short story, at least what I think so, on your website. I've read all this stuff. Is this are these comics that are meant just for web comics? Have they been printed? Can you kind of talk about Super Duper Shark?
Yeah, Super Duper Shark was one of the comics that me and Mike at Raleigh did for the Tidewater convention there, and
Which is my my hometown Comic Con.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's what they had some issues that, you know, we printed and we sold, or I don't know if he sold it or gave it out, but he did that for one of the Tidewater conventions.
Very cool. I had some other images here. I'm gonna find them. One thing I learned that Zoom has changed how I find some of my photos, so I'm trying to see where the rest of Super Duper Shark is. But we have another one too. I know I have a couple of these lined up. We also have Krabatha, the Crab Girl. This would definitely fall in the line of just like, all right, I'm sold. Look how hilarious that is, and it's a great name and great little characters. So can you talk about Krabatha?
That is another one that I did with Mike, and it was kind of a similar thing. We did that for the Ocean City Con, and that was another one that he had some printed up, and that was distributed there. Yeah, that was pretty much all of Mike's idea. Mike did concept wise, he pretty much came up with Krabatha and Super Duper Shark, to give credit. You know.
Excellent. All right, so
But who made the visuals? Shane Campos. Who made the visuals?
It was me. In fact, Super
That's
Duper
right.
Shark was like,
That's right, Shane. It was you.
I do logos and stuff for mascots. I'm sorry, mascots for Mike's conventions on Virginia, all his cons, and Super Duper Shark was one of the ones we had done, the mascot for Tidewater, and that pretty much eventually Shark Kent, which what is like his funny name there, evolved into Shark Kent Super Duper Shark for that show. That's kind of how he came about. A little bit more information on Super Duper Shark.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. If you are a Superman fan, I was reading Super Duper Shark, and yeah, this is definitely a fun time. All right. So another tier of our programming here is talking about the reason why we're all here as Cartoonists by Night. If you're a longtime fan of us here, you'll definitely have known this backstory, but this has a connection here with our guests. So all of us exist because of a very specific fandom, a publishing company, a company known as Oh Yeah Comics, Art Baltazar and Franco. And
Baltazar's my papa.
and all of us were fans of Oh Yeah Comics, and we would see each other in the comments and on the live stream videos, whether it's the Oh Yeah podcast or Art and Franco's live streams, and that's how we all kind of got connected. And looking into Shane and your work and the stuff that you've worked on, here was something here that brings you into the connection, because we're all here because of Oh Yeah Comics, and you are part of the Oh Yeah Comics family because you've got yourself a writing and art credit here with issue and number. Which one is this? 13. So
13. Yeah.
So
that is the one.
So because we are born out of Oh Yeah Comics, we like to know, how was your connection and to get yourself to contribute to Oh Yeah Comics yourself? Can you kind of talk about your origin story of Art and Franco and why this is in my hands right now?
Actually, I had seen some of the Oh Yeah Comics, and I saw, like, I guess some of the Dark Horse reprints, and I loved them. They were so cool, and I hit up Arthur Balthazar at one point and said, "Hey, I would like to do a comic," and he was really nice enough to let me do one, and so I just got to do whatever I wanted with it, and I turned it in, and it got printed.
Yeah, that was my next question, because it is it was a short story here, as the Oh Yeah Comics are basically anthology stories, often leading with a story by Art and Franco or Scoot, and then bringing in other talent of friends and everybody. And you have this awesome bear story, and getting excited for this jar of grape jam. So that was going to be my question is like, all right, was this an idea that was pitched to you? But it sounds like you were just kind of given freedom and this was the story you went with. Can you kind of talk about how you decided on this awesome bear story? And
Man, it's been so long ago. I can't remember what made me think on that, but I just thought, well, this morning, what would Awesome Bear be missing, or what's going on with Awesome Bear's life? And there was, it's like, well, maybe there's a bad guy who doesn't want him to have his breakfast.
yeah.
And the weasel guy, did I ever name the weasel? Was it in there? I can't. I think I had a name for the weasel, and I never put it in the actual comic because that was
They
silly,
just
but I
refer
didn't
to
do
him
that.
as a no good weasel. I don't think there's
The no good weasel. Yeah. So this weasel in a power suit tries to get his his jelly or jam for his morning breakfast because of course the weasel deserved it more and wanted it more, and so he grabbed it. But then Awesome Bear rose to the occasion and got it back.
And while playing in the Oh Yeah Comics world, there are definitely a lot of characters to play with. But looking at these characters beyond Awesome Bear, you can definitely tell when I was talking about you coming up with ideas for creatures and aliens and such. This is definitely a Shane Campos random alien. Like, I need this, alien with a yo-yo or a ball or something there. But it was
And a
fun.
Joe Jughead cap. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's got the old whoopee cap on. And so, yeah, it was fun to kind of like after looking at all your work and reading uh, your comics and everything, your self-published or your original characters and everything. It was fun to revisit this story and now having an extra eye on the backgrounds and just your design. So that one specifically jumped out for me with being a big Archie fan. So
Thank you. I love Archie, dude. Oh my gosh, Archie comics.
well,
I literally had at least 4 brown paper grocery bags full of like the digest at one time. Because I was a kid, I didn't know how to store them. I wasn't, so I threw them in like these,
that works.
brown paper bags.
And
But man, yeah, Archie was a huge influence on me also as a growing up as a kid.
anytime Archie Comics is brought up, whether I purposely bring it up or not, I always have to show off that I have a cameo in an Archie comic. So
No
here's
way,
here's me walking past Betty and Veronica there. So
dude, that's so awesome.
this might be
How
the
did that happen?
well, I was going to say this might be the first or the 15th time I've shared that story on this very show.
Okay, well,
That was through a Dan Parent Kickstarter for the Kevin Keller 10th anniversary collection. So there was simply a tier to be drawn in, and I was not going to waste any time to take an opportunity to be immortalized into Riverdale forever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely, that's so cool.
and ever since that happened, there was another season or two of Riverdale on the CW that was airing. So I kept looking just to see if I would show up in the background there now that I'm canon. So, and if you still have those grocery, what's that, Brad?
You see anybody that looked like you?
If there was, I was going to have to file a lawsuit and, likeness rights and all that. But thankfully, we didn't have to get into legal action.
Right.
So yeah, once again, we are all here because of All Yeah Comics. So it was fun to really, going into the catalog and realizing that you too got to dip your toes into the All Yeah Comics world.
Yeah.
I know. That's silly. I didn't mention it. I didn't even think about it. It's been so long, and I had real talk here. I have ADD real bad. I've got like some ADHD going on, so it's hard for me sometimes to concentrate on everything that I want to at the time. I may come back to you later and go, "Oh, I meant to say this," and like, yeah, that was like last week, Shane.
Even if you have to shout out the future, Anthony, we'll cut to another segment if you really have to get something out there. So,
This is true.
and to kind of finish off our Oh Yeah Comics here, the most recent release was the Oh Yeah Comics number 15, and our friends Matt Fife and Matt Rogers and Troy Dongarra all have credits on the bottom here. Whether they've
Which,
yep,
to,
Troy,
to be fair,
yep,
my name is a typo on there. Just
Okay.
to be clear, I have nothing in the book.
There is an ad for Kid Slapshot, but yeah, and RDB here himself is popping up holding his Kid Slapshot variant cover. So, but that was a bit of a mystery as we're wondering, what was going to be in that book because Troy's name was on the cover. But
Yeah.
It really was.
I said,
And it wasn't just to say that your ad is in there.
I
typically,
feel like it would be weird to get credit for an ad, but
typically it's meant there for like, all right, here's all the ones that have stories in the book. But all power to you. Art thought that the Dongarra name deserved a spot on the cover, and we're gonna go with it. It's canon.
yeah. I wonder if I have a cameo in there. I never did get a copy.
I've read this one twice, and I didn't see anything, but I'm gonna have to give it a third time through just to see. Troy, is this you right here, right there?
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. Sweet, I am in there.
Oh, and then here's me, the Gucci Nana. There I am. So
Nice.
I'm not looking for that guy.
yeah. Good stuff. So yeah, Oh Yeah Comics. Once again, it was exciting to see that you had a credit in that universe.
I do. I have to say, I think that's like probably my first
Ooh.
published thing that wasn't like, okay, so me and some friends did a self-published thing, a couple of self-published things back in like the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like somebody else like wanting to publish my stuff, that was the first thing, I think. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's cool.
All right, we are going to check in on the drawings. Shane, we're working on another character here. Can you kind of talk about what we're looking at here?
Well, I started on Jace. Is it Jan and Jace, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right. Okay. So, but this is my very off-model Jan. I started sketching around, and her design. I love the design. Toth is like a master. But it's like so strange because like her hair tucks into her mask, and and her ears do also, and it's just a really weird shape to the head. So I decided to take the hair out and the ears out and just kind of play with it a little bit. But other than that, I think it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, Space Ghost for me, unfortunately, is a very blind spot. I haven't consumed too much, and it's definitely something I need to make up for because I like the concept and everything, and I know a lot of people that hold a lot of fondness for the character, but I haven't dipped my toes into those waters as much as I should have. And as future Anthony is editing this episode, hearing me say that means I'm going to have to hold myself to it and play catch up.
There you go.
Anybody else? Actually, let's finish up the drawings here. Jumping over to D. Brad. Talk about what we're looking at here.
This is Chopper. There's a peanut and an apple. I always find it weird when they make things that when they make food characters. Like, is he going to kill them and eat them after this? Like, are they waiting to be eaten? Like,
yeah, I never understood why people make food into characters, and like it seems like it's a weird concept, and I don't know who would ever buy that as a comic book of like a food item. A food item as a character
just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, weird.
Well, this one is specifically about eating fruits and vegetables.
There we go.
That's what that whole ad's about.
Eat me, Seymour.
Troy, you're filling in some background and doing some awesome work. I always love watching your
Just
background detail work, and you talk about bringing that to life.
just filling time, bud. Doing the Kirby crackle.
Love it.
Kirby Crackles. Good stuff.
Thank you.
And
But I think I'm pretty much done. If I continue, I'm probably going to ruin it.
yeah, I am working on Velma right now here. Getting once again, I wanted to rather than just looking at an image and trying to mimic it, looking at a pose and stuff. I'm just like, all right, I got to find a caricature type of angle for it, and with her naturally giant turtleneck, I wanted to really emphasize that for the specific
Yeah,
drawing. So that's that was my approach on this one.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Naturally giant, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Look,
Nice. I got to step. I need to step away for a minute. I'll be back.
all
All
right.
right.
How about this? After Troy's messages, he'll be right back.
There you go.
It's back.
All right, future Anthony and future Shane are back here in action while those other cartoonists are in the past. So we're going to take a little break here. Something that in the recording, Anthony forgot to reach out and check out the responses from our listeners on their favorite Saturday morning cartoons. So we have an answer here from Jay Hammond, past guest on the show. He mentioned Turtles, Street Sharks, Static Shock, Moo Mesa, or if we go older, G.I. Joe and Transformers.
All good stuff. Yeah. I don't remember Moon Mesa. What was that?
That was going to be my question to you. This is where we could use future D. Brad because he probably has the answer. So, yep, you don't know, but we're going to check it out. So thanks, Jay Hammond.
Right.
We have a response from Matt Hansel, another past guest on this very show, and it's no surprise that he chose Underdog.
This is true. Yeah, he draws a great underdog. It's so great. I love it.
And at the time of this future recording, he had just come across a bunch of like paper stock of the Underdog like logo title on there. So he started taking Underdog commissions specifically. So he's been posting that and everything. I don't know how much he has, but if you like Underdog and you like Matt Hansel, reach out to him. Maybe there's an Underdog waiting for you. And then we have another response, another past guest of the show. Thank you very much for everybody chiming in here. Lavi from Lavi HQ. She picked out Tom and Jerry, which I don't think any of us had mentioned in our normal episode. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I think all of those were our new mentions for the episode. So,
The good stuff. Oh man, I have such fond memories of Tom and Jerry. For me, it wasn't a Saturday morning; it was like a after school thing. They hit that spot when you got home from school or during summer, and if I had a candy bar, I would save it and I would sit there and eat it and watch Tom and Jerry.
all right. So, thank you once again to our listeners and followers and fans for chiming in. For other people that want to comment, just follow Cartoonist by Night on Instagram, and in the stories, we always throw out the question and then read those answers there. So, all right, we're going to catch up with the cartoonists, which are currently drawing. Getting excited for Saturday morning cartoons and the other ones. I don't think I mentioned these earlier, but Nicktoons was big for me. Once again, whether or not they aired specifically or debuted on Saturday mornings, but I love things like Rugrats and Doug and
Yeah.
Real Monsters and everything that Nickelodeon did, Ren and Stimpy. Those were all huge cartoon favorites of mine. And while I definitely watched a lot of the Disney programming, I think I was more of a Nickelodeon kid than a Disney kid myself.
Is Nickelodeon owned by Paramount?
Yeah, or at least I know their products are, their stuff
Yeah.
is on Paramount Plus. So
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
on Amazon, I have Cartoon Network on there added, and also Paramount Plus, and so I've got all the Nicktoons and all the Cartoon Network.
Nick.
And,
Here's
and
a
I'm really liking the new Ninja Turtle show.
the one that's
It's
brand
pretty good.
Mutant
It's
Mayhem.
Yeah.
comic book brought to life. The drawings, they're very stylized, like a comic.
Yeah, well, the action scenes are
Dark
really good
lines.
too.
Yeah. Bold lines and all that.
Well, yeah, they definitely used traditional animation. I guess that's like kind of a thing. It's like if you got a CG movie, then they're gonna like probably do a traditional animation for the series.
Yeah, and
But
I'm glad.
usually that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I'm glad. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I'm glad it's not CG.
Yeah, me too. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I really appreciate some good,
Yeah, I like the variety.
you know. Yeah.
Another one I really like, that was on, it's probably still on Netflix, but it's kind of like has a comic book feel. Um, oh, what's it called now? Uh, it's
You got
about this kid
Kid
Cosmic.
Cosmic? Kid
Yeah,
Cosmic, yeah.
remember
Yeah,
that one?
that's I do. I haven't finished it yet. It's one of
Mhm.
those shows where like a lot of stuff happens in every episode, but nothing happens. And so it's like I feel like I have been smoking it a little bit. It's like and it's like wow, I feel like I've watched a lot of this and I need to take a
Yeah,
break of it. They have a lot of like concepts that they play with, which is really cool.
yeah. I just like the style, the drawing style of it with
Yeah, I
with
think Craig McCracken developed it, but I guess there was other people that actually did the designs on it,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And
Oh, and speaking of Saturday morning cartoons, Netflix had a 8 episode parody of Saturday morning cartoons
yeah.
from the early 90s kind of style about these two twin brothers. They're hosting the show, and it's like an anthology cartoon show where there's different characters.
So this is
And
the Kyle
Cool.
Mooney, the Kyle Mooney
Kyle Mooney, yeah,
yeah,
Kyle Mooney, yeah,
from SNL.
yeah, and it's like some of the stuff is like so depressing. It's like what, but it's like funny too at the same time. It's definitely not for kids, but it's just a parody of those kind of shows from
I'm guessing it's obvious of their own personal love of the genre and the era and stuff that they just kind of put
yeah,
their own comedic spin on it too.
exactly, yeah. It's I forget what it's called, All-Star Cartoon, something like that,
is that the one that had like Rayman in it, or
maybe.
maybe I can't remember. I do remember seeing one. I remember Kyle Mooney being attached to it, but there's another one
Yeah.
that I saw that was like that.
Oh, I wonder if any of you guys remember this. I was thinking about this. Um, there's a crossover cartoon special. I don't know if it was the late 80s or early 90s, but it had like cartoons from all three of the major US networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And it was like all the cartoons to the rescue or something. They're trying to help these kids stay off of drugs.
Mm.
Have you heard of one?
I think
It had
that sounds
Muppet,
really familiar.
yeah,
That
Muppet
sounds really
Baby,
familiar.
we're in it, Garfield. Uh, so I'm trying to
Uh,
remember who.
were they successful?
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah,
Yeah, they did it right.
yeah.
Get
Yeah, it
those kids
wasn't
off
like
drugs.
if it was a Kyle Mooney one. I don't,
They would not have been probably.
I'm glad you brought up Muppet Babies because that was definitely a big one for me. So
and I don't think we'll
Baby was
ever get
good.
to see Muppet Babies because they did parodies of movies, and so I think that's why the rights for it for streaming has been so hard.
mm,
They haven't been able to show it.
Really? Aren't parodies like projected?
I think maybe they got like actual footage or music. I'm not sure exactly.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think you're right. They did like show like clips from Indiana Jones and stuff, right?
yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
and I'm sure
But I'm totally wrong about that. Could be a different reason.
No, that makes
One of
sense
my
though.
brothers really liked that show.
I tried watching the reboot with my daughter, and it just kind of wasn't as good. It fell
Right.
short for me.
Yeah.
Like, nostalgia is a thing. It's pretty hard to get
Winnie
past
the,
it
I
sometimes.
think Winnie the Pooh is also in that one, trying to get kids off drugs. It was a time when he had his own cartoon Saturday show.
Hmm.
And Smurfs, maybe they were in it. Garfield. It was around that era, like the late 80s. The cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. That's what it's called. It's on YouTube if you ever want to check it out. I'm not saying it's good, but it's just kind of a curiosity. It's like something that came out at the time, but it appeared like on all three networks, I think, at the same time. That's what I'm
When
remembering.
when you're a kid and you have some kind of like super crossover event like that, it's like a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
is there any cartoon that comes to mind that's something that you discovered as an adult? I know, like D. Brad has talked about a couple times of getting into Batman the animated series and stuff that he necessarily wasn't a kid, like when that
Yeah.
stuff was coming out. Is there any kind of animated show that you really got attached to as an adult? Anything that for anybody to answer?
Um,
Mine might be
Teen
Space
Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go. That's a good answer. Mine might
uh,
be Space Ghost when I finally get around to watching it.
right. Well, I love uh, the whole. I've been rewatching Justice League and Justice League, the show that came after it. That's so good. I really like that. That was one I really liked. Um, as an adult. Well, I
Have you,
still, and then the ones I've already talked about, I was an adult for a lot of them.
when you say the one that came after it, are you talking about like the other Bruce Timm style one or the Justice League action that came out much later?
Well, the Justice League had two seasons, and then they came
Uh,
back a time jump for another couple seasons, and it was still called
uh,
Justice League. It had like an extra,
Unlimited?
yeah,
Unlimited, yeah.
unlimited, yeah, that's what it was, yeah, yeah. It
I
really
got
holds.
you.
It's really good. I like it, and I
Yeah.
like Young Justice I like that one too. I watched that with my girls.
Yeah, that was another good one, yeah.
I
I
liked
remember getting
Justice
into
League. Go ahead.
no, it's all right. I remember getting into Max Fleischer Supermans whenever I was older. I'd never
Oh,
seen them whenever I was a kid,
yeah,
but it's
Mhm.
like I was just kind of floored that they were doing such quality animation, you know, cool stuff for that time period.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's it's.
that
I
stuff was cool.
Yeah, I got them. I have a Superman movie Blu-ray set, and all those Superman Fleischer cartoons are are, are on there, and I that was such a nice surprise to get to see them.
Hmm.
Because a lot of time when you see them, they're like, because it wasn't in copyright, a lot of them they had like really bad quality, and so it's just nice to see them all in a brand new quality. Well, I've heard something about speaking of Saturday morning cartoons and Looney Tunes. I heard that Warner Brothers is having some problems now with DVDs that were made in the 2000s.
I
That
saw the picture of that, and it, like one of them had some kind of weird like rot on the thing, and it was unplayable.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
had a
I'm scared for my Looney Tune.
So I was literally going to bring up a related topic, saying that the time of this recording, within the last couple days, we experienced that a lot of classic Looney Tunes are not on Max anymore, and as they want to shift to different directions, and hopefully those cartoons will show up on a different service. But it was very
Yeah.
coincidental because days before that announcement, I had a collection of Looney Tunes Blu-rays, the set that D. Brad uh, spoke highly of that it has as well, that I already had those shipping to me because I was just like, oh, I just want to make sure I have these at the ready in case, who knows if they'll ever disappear. And then it was like 3 days later, then they were taken off of Max. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You never know how you can't really trust anybody, any streaming service to keep you hooked up anymore, even if you buy the stuff.
Yeah.
You just got to get it on your own somehow.
Yeah, it's crazy because they own it. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, and
I don't know.
going back to the day the Earth blew up, the current Looney Tunes movie in theaters. Once again, go see it. It's hilarious. It's fun, and Ketchup Entertainment is the one that put that out there. And because of the success of that movie, and just with that movie making it out in theaters, that now there is more interest and a more possibility that the much anticipated Coyote versus Acme movie that with Wile E. Coyote that was going to sue Acme because of all the faulty products and stuff that he's purchased. A movie that was kind of in limbo and got shelved, and maybe it was going to be one of those fall into the trend of those movies from WB that were going to just be like it's cheaper to write it off as a tax credit than to actually release it. So a movie that gained a lot of excitement suddenly turned into something of like, all right, we probably will never see this. But now, with the current hype around the day the Earth blew up, there's been some articles that Ketchup Entertainment might be in the running to purchase that movie to release it, which, crossing the fingers, hopefully that happens.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I'm sure it'll happen.
It's
But are they allowed to sell it if they used it as a tax write-off? Because they weren't supposed to.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about all those, what actually happened with it. I think it was just kind of being lumped into those things of like, yeah, we're not going to release it, and I don't know if that fell into the territory that Batgirl fell into or not. But all I know is that Deadline was reporting it. You had some credible news sources that were talking about this, and the Eric Bauza, I believe is how you pronounce his name, who is the current like voice of Looney Tunes of your current Bugs Bunny, your Daffy, and your Porky. He's the title actor voicing the title characters of this new movie. He was sharing the articles and such too. So I think, especially with buzz from people like him and everybody sharing it, definitely gives us a little more hope. So
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to take a break real quick. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
There you go.
It's back.
All right, future Anthony and future Shane are back. The other cartoonists had to take another break, but we're here for an exclusive piece that we didn't talk about in the actual recording. You did some Mystery Science Theater 3000 related art, so what we're going to do here is show it off and have you tell us what we are looking at.
This one, this is one that was the Batman. Was it the Batman #1? No, it wasn't the first one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let me see. I know that they were all okay. Let's see. The first one, Batman #9. That's what it was. This is Batman #9. I think it might have been the first appearance of Robin.
Oh, okay.
But of course, we've got, Crow and Tom Servo as Robin. Batgirl, I guess. I don't know.
And how did you end up doing these? We know that your creative partner worked on that. So can you kind of talk about how you got this gig for this? 'Cause I see, is that New York Comic Con listed on there?
Yeah, it was for New York Comic Con 2021. So it's a little while ago. And I guess I just started working with Mike on doing Berserk and doing some other, I do like mascots and stuff for his cons. And he hit me up and said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity to do some really cool stuff." He was, I think he was also the one of the producers on season 13. And they were doing some exclusive posters for New York Comic Con, and that was how that came about. And I
Well,
was lucky to get it. I was very excited.
yeah,
Very
I've
excited to do it.
I've been a huge fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000 forever. I was part of the Kickstarter campaign to bring those new episodes and bring them back with the new cast and everything. And yeah, so that was cool to see those. Were these done? Was it just like digital things, or were they actual like printed prints or anything?
No, they were printed prints.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I can't remember how many they had. It wasn't like 100. Yeah,
Sure.
100 each. I think they got to have 100 each. So they were kind of really pretty limited.
And depending on how you collect your own art, do you have a copy of each of those, or is that how do you do that?
I don't. I didn't get a copy of it, but I need to work on that.
Yeah,
That'd be nice to have one.
definitely. We
Yeah.
got two more here to show off. So here's one is obviously our Action Comics #1 homage.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that was another fun one. It was fun. I laugh every time I see Crow leaning out that window and
That's awesome.
going crazy. Plus all the other like some of these other characters are from the show also, and they got a little cameo in there.
And were these your ideas to do these cover tributes, or was that something that you chose? Or
I believe it was Mike's idea, if I remember right. But I think we kind of like went back and forth on some of them on which ones to do. But yeah, I think it was his idea.
I'm going to save my personal favorite for last because I am a huge fan of the Silver Surfer and Galactus, and this is my favorite one right here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, me too. Me too. Man, Mobius is such a master. I felt like I shouldn't even trying to do his hatching and line work on there.
Well,
So yeah,
if it's any sort of compliment, it's obviously very recognizable, especially with the cover. And, I'm sure people would eventually figure out, obviously the characters they are, but being a big Silver Surfer fan, I knew exactly that, hey, this is the Mobius cover tribute. So just on that level, you nailed it. So
thank you. Thank you very much.
all right. So I'm glad that we were able to include those into the episode. And now let's return to the show. Let's see here. I decided to start with Scooby-Doo. I'm going to do a lot of detail work after the fact, but there's still something about these cards that whether I'm going to work on some backgrounds and do my whiteout lines and stuff, but there's something I'm still trying to see what pops. I'm looking at my Looney Tunes ones, and I'm pretty happy with them. But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think if there's something else if I should be adding like starburst lines in the background or something. So there's still something about these pink background cards that I'm trying to visually see where I need to take these. So.
I'm not sure what I would add. Yeah.
And speaking of the whiteout pens, Justin Castaneda, a past guest on the show, he had talked about these here because I had used I think the Bic ones. I want to see if I have my example here. These are the Jelly Roll ones here.
Yeah.
These are the ones that I had been using, but then he does awesome work, and he recommended these here, these Uniball Signo, if that's how you pronounce it. So I got myself a package of those, and it has a nice flow to it, and immediately I'm like, oh, as long as these are in existence, these are going to be the only whiteout pens I use from here on out. So I've been using these on some of the more recent cards, and so shout out to Justin Castaneda for the first time I've branched out of being like, oh, what tool do you use there? I got to look into that. So
I still have pens that I don't know how to use, and I haven't looked up how to use them yet.
they're just waiting in the wings until you're ready for them, huh?
Yeah, because I got like those sampler. I'm not sure how you say it, Kuretake pens.
Okay.
Got like samples of all their pens. I found a few that I really liked, but then there's a few like I don't even know how to use these ones. I'm just gonna have to look it up. I guess you gotta shake it or something. I'm not sure. They look like real actual brushes.
Now, Troy, this isn't a prompt for you to show us what you're working on, but are we going to be seeing a surprise on kind of like in the last episode and you drew an awesome Sarah Palmer? Are you working on something that you're going to reveal later?
No,
Nope. Nope.
I'm sorry.
Are you just doing your taxes maybe?
I'm sending you guys picture.
Fair enough. I
Multitasking.
I was just wondering, like, ooh, he unveiled a secret drawing the last time, so maybe that's what he's up to now. But no, apparently not.
Yeah, the spirit has not moved me. Sorry.
That's perfectly all right.
Yeah.
Looking at our episode time, I've really realized how quick this episode seemed to fly by. So I'm going to make sure we cover everything. Now, one thing that I wanted to learn here, I'm going to jump back to my face screen here so I can properly set this up. I have some other stuff waiting in the wings here to show off of Shane's art, going back to our guest here. I'm going to show off some things that I went through your catalog, things that kind of caught my eye, good examples of your artwork and your designs, all the things I kind of talked about at the top of the show. So while I do a little slideshow here, feel free to comment if you want to, but mostly we want to learn about Shane Campos and how you came to be with your artistic journey, if it was something that was as a child, maybe later in life. Can you kind of tell us basically your origin story of how you became an artist and storyteller? So feel free to jump into that.
Sure. I mean, as a kid, I drew a lot, and I was really into like Roadrunner and Spider-Man were probably my favorites as a child. I would draw those a lot, and put my own spin on it. And I like werewolves a lot also. So with that, one of the weird combinations I came up with as a child was a spider wolf, a Spider-Man werewolf guy. And of course, like I said, Roadrunner was always a fun thing for me to draw. I love to draw him. Usually, like with his legs going, you know how they do the real fast spin.
Yeah.
They do the action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up on that and reading Archie comics a lot. And I kind of went from there to just trying to draw my own characters. And my sisters, both of them worked at a manufacturing plant, and they made folders, like those manila folders.
Okay.
And so they would bring home like the leftover roll of whatever was on the machine. It would just like be like, it might be that much, but it was just like this big, thick cardboard that I could draw on. And I would just draw on those things all the time and fill them up. And always had my own characters and things I was doing with it. I would make some stuff for my friend Jeff from high school. I mean, I'm not high school. We went to high school together, but from elementary school.
Yeah.
And eventually, like in like the early, like when the Batman movie came out, I had won a contest at my local comic book store for Draw Batman. So I drew Batman, and some guys there that were trying to get some comics together, they saw it, and we got together, and they were kind of like my mentors into doing comics. And they were real big into like Barry Windsor Smith and Jeff Jones and just all these like really masters of art. So I kind of got really influenced onto learning anatomy and all the composition and color and all that stuff. Now whether that stuck with me or not, I'm not sure. But I did have a good solid base through these guys learning storytelling and anatomy and that kind of stuff. And then one of the things they always stress with me is like, you can break the rules, you just have to know what they are first. So I after self-publishing with them, we did 3 issues of this comic called Shot Loose. And then we did another one later called Punk. And Punk and his pals was more of an adult, like Tank Girl or Lobo. It was kind of like that because that's what I was into at the time. And then I never really got into doing art full time or as a career for a while, I just did like factory work. But then later in my life, I ended up moving to Austin, and then when I went to Austin, I got into like screen printing and graphic design. Ended up doing working for a print promotional company. Got married, had a kid. Ended up moving here to East Texas after COVID hit, and we were at a point where it's like, well, my wife's doing good with her job, and I need to find something I can do remote. And now is a good chance that I can get into comics. And thanks to all of that, I was able to start working on a comic pitch. And that's when I ran to Mike, and we got hooked up together and got Berserk going. And now that's out. And yeah, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do next, or what's going to happen next with doing comics. I'm excited to do some new stuff.
Well, speaking of new stuff, you had that you would like to talk about this, so that I think it's a great segue to talk about Lulu, Daughter of Cthulhu. So you've been posting this here, and these images are adorable. I'm going to scroll through some of these, so feel free to talk about what's going on with these drawings.
Sure.
Lulu. I like that. That's good. Lulu. Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah, that's Lulu. That's the main character here. She's the only daughter of Cthulhu, the only child of Cthulhu. That's just some examples of some of the other life forms that are there in the city of Aurelia. Yeah. And again, this is like just kind of like Cthulhu and that Lovecraft, that kind of stuff. It's just a jumping off point. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like taking it and doing my own thing with it after that. Little nods here and there to the stuff and mythos, but most of it is just going in my own direction with it. That's the captain. That's like one of the characters that she gets hooked up with later. They go on an adventure, and he has a ship, and they're trying to find this cryptid type of creature that lives on the edge of their city. And that's some examples of some of the the backgrounds of the city itself, which is like this giant clam thing that has settled from the other dimension, and it lands on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and that's where all the adventures at the main parts takes place there.
Yeah, it looking at that and just seeing all your character work on those, once again leading into kind of these fun designs, and the color work is great. Like, can you kind of talk about your approach to color, and like, is that something that you always color your own work, or you preferred to, or do you have a favorite part of the process? Feel free to talk about that.
I do have a favorite part of the process, but it's not coloring.
No,
it is the inking. I love inking, but I'm not very good with like a brush, like traditional inking. I'm not very good with, but I do love digital inking. And I think that's because all of the pressure is gone. Because, you can, especially doing it with, I do it in Adobe Illustrator. So it's like, not only can I make a line, but I can take that line and I can like noodle with it and shorten it or take it to a different spot where I want it to go. Coloring is cool. And I feel like it's like one of my limitations. And I think that's where I go with a limited palette. So I kind of like have so many different colors that I want to use, and I just kind of stick with those instead of keep it simple.
Yeah,
that's my motto.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely works. I think your coloring really stands out, especially I like the scene with the submarine or the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the last one that was showed, how it looks like you have like a haze going through the background.
Yeah.
Really helps everything to pop out. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of have some tricks that I use to, even though it's simple, I try to keep it interesting by separating things a bit like that.
Yeah, it works. Looks great.
And then we We also have another item which is going to include a lot of people to talk about because for Free Comic Book Day 2025, KeenSpot has this toy box release in which looks like we're going to get a bunch of short stories of some recognizable KeenSpot characters and properties. We do see some from our castmates here with kid slap shots on the cover here. We've got Happy and Half over there. And Shane, you also have a contribution to this. Can you talk about what you are contributing to this release?
Yeah, this is really cool. I mean, it's so cool how everything's connected here. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a two-page, or I've done a two-page story with Niall O'Rourke for Squish and Squash, and it turned out it's super fun. And I'm so excited that to get artwork in front of so many eyeballs. That's really the coolest. And then working with Niall O'Rourke is awesome. It's been a great experience.
Right.
And to be in such a cool book with all these other cool creators is just great. I'm excited.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
Me too. We got Kung Fu Legume on there. We got Robot Plus Girl. A lot of the books from KeenSpot have been pretty fun, and Squish and Squash being one that is completely a fun adventure book. And yeah, that's a personal favorite of mine.
There we go.
Okay, so we are looking at some Squish and Squash. So Shane, take it away.
Yeah, this is Squish and Squash, the duo that I will be doing a two-page story with. Well, have a two-page story coming out on the Free Comic Book Day. So yeah, if you can get a copy, I hope I can get a copy. I
it's free.
It's free. I think that's I think it'll be very, very collectible. And like I was saying earlier, I'm super excited that there's a lot of people that are going to be able to see it. And yeah, it's a pretty fun little, for 2 pages. It's a pretty fun little story. I like it.
Well, yeah, at the very least, I can talk with All Yeah Comics because I'll be down there for Free Comic Book Day weekend to hang out and help out. So if you are having a tough time finding a copy, us over at All Yeah Comics will get you one.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
And then you also have this pinup here.
Yeah, that's the pinup that I had done originally. That was one of the a fan art Friday thing I did, and I guess that was kind of I was interested in doing something for them, and they saw that, and it's like, hey, be cool, because Mike Hartigan had I think started on a new project, and he wasn't going to be able to do anything anymore on it,
right?
And so it was just good timing that I was able to get in there and work up a cool story with y'all.
Yeah,
looks great.
Working with those characters and those color palettes because it's a very colorful book of the main series, so it seems like you'd be a perfect fit into that.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that is going to be all I have set up here. We've learned a lot about Shane. We've seen him work. We're going to kind of do our final looks at our drawing. So while people maybe want to prep what they have, I just got started on a Scooby, so there's a Scooby guide. I want to emphasize the nose a little bit there and just kind of, once again, just trying to not just to mimic an established drawing. There's the Shaggy I started off with. I'll do some detail work at the end to kind of touch those up. There's the Velma and the extra large turtleneck there. And then I have the other ones I didn't start, but those will be in the credits at the end. What do we got here over with D. Brad? Talk us through this next drawing here.
Schoolhouse Rock, verb, that's what's happening. So Schoolhouse Rock was basically they're kind of like shorts that taught you about either grammar or history. I think it would be American history. And then we got from the Bod Squad, exercise your choppers. That's Chopper. So, and then the other weird guy, Timer, time for Timer, about sunshine on a stick. It just seems
that
like
is super trippy.
Yeah. Yeah, the timer, he is weird. You got to check out Time for Timer.
He should be on a tie-dyed T-shirt next to
Yeah.
dancing bears.
Yeah. He got one, probably his most famous one is about cheese, and it's like hankering for a hunk of cheese. You can get
Uh-huh.
T-shirts with that on it.
That's funny.
You had me at cheese.
Yeah. Yeah.
Troy, if you want to hold up the where you left off, if you're going to be brave enough to go further in your He-Man, or here it is.
Yep. No, I'm pretty much done.
I like it.
If I go further, I'll jack it up. So it's done.
Very nice. And Shane, if we want to take a look at where you're at with your Space Coast characters.
I don't have them all put together yet. Oh, there's the monkey guy. There's Blip going
Blip,
nuts.
right.
And
Space.
there's Jace
Cool.
I like cheese.
and Jan, the off model Jan. And Space Ghost just like hanging out.
Perfect.
And since you did those in Illustrator, they're like scalable, right? So you can put them, you can combine it into one image.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to put them together and then put a little background on them, and yeah, that'd be the final.
Cool.
And we'll see that in the end credits of the show. As we roll into the finish line here, Shane, is there anything you want to promote? Like how can people find your work, website, social media? Where can people find you out there?
You can just go to my website, shanecampos.com, and you will see all my links on the front page. Plus, there's a newsletter that I'm fixing to launch, a Substack. And it'd be cool if you guys just went there and signed up.
All right.
Excellent. And we'll see the text for that along the bottom, as well as clickable links in the show notes. Do you have anything to promote for projects? We have the Toy Box contribution there and your Go Berserk. If you want to kind of plug how people can get your work or what you're excited about, or any teases for the future, anything you want to plug for your work. We'll be right back with your normal programming, but this is Future Anthony here with Future Shane, and he has a special reveal. What you got, Shane?
I have the hardcover version of Go Berserk.
Nice.
And it is roughly 100 pages, and it has all sorts of cool, vibrant artwork, cartoons that I think your kids will love, and hopefully some adults too. Is the back cover. It's
beautiful.
Yeah. We also, from the Kickstarter, we got these cool pins. These are both pretty neat. One of Berserk and one of the whole gang right here. Berserk, Pedbot, and Tetra.
Awesome.
And
those are part of the Kickstarter rewards that people have chosen to get.
They are. And if you go to my website, you can go to shanecampos.com and scroll to the bottom. There's a little picture of Berserk. If you click on it, it'll take you straight to the Kickstarter. If you want to be a late backer and get some of the cool stuff. If not, on April 29th, I believe it releases to like Barnes & Nobles and Walmart, those kind of stores. You get one however you feel.
Sounds awesome. Thanks for showing that off. And now we're going to cut back to the cartoonist in action.
Like I said, yeah, you've got the comic book day with Squish and Squashes coming out. I've got something come out, an anthology for paper cuts, but I can't really talk about it. But I want people to know that it's coming out, and keep your eyes peeled, and hopefully we will get that out soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it at the moment. That I can
Excellent. And by the time this is released, we're looking at the end of March 2025. Do you go out on the convention circuit? Is there any kind of in-person promotion that you have? Is that something that you do?
I haven't lately, but I'm planning to go to Tidewater, and I think that's in May. So I'll be there with the table, and hopefully I'll see some people out there. Hopefully maybe some of you guys, and we can hang out in real life.
Very cool.
I will try.
Cool.
So yeah, definitely go to shanecampos.com for all the information. I've been on the website. You can read those short page stories for the Super Duper Shark and Krabatha, and then once again the links. It's a real nice laid out website that just makes it super easy to find everything right there, and not too much navigating needing to do. It's a one stop shop. It looks like so. All right. So yeah, it was an excellent time to hang out with you, meet you via Zoom here, and so thank you, Shane, for coming on Cartoonist by Night and bringing us the topic of Saturday morning cartoons.
Thanks for having me. It was great to talk with everybody, and I will see you guys soon.
And as we take a look
Great
here,
meeting you, man.
And as we take a look here, we've been talking cartoons, we've been drawing cartoons, and we realize it's no longer Saturday morning, but we're going to keep watching cartoons through lunchtime anyway. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, got it. Can't get the thing closed.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur. Okay.
Okay.
I was crossing my eyes.